Florida Gators continue their march to an inevitable, shall we say, very, very unpleasant finish to the 2025 season with a road trip to Ole Miss. Gators taking on the Rebels in Oxford on Saturday night. We're going to talk about all of that. Going to try to put as pretty of a bow on a very ugly season as possible. We'll get to all that in a second. He's Adrian. I'm Neil at Gator Diamond Pod for Adrian with the stickball news at ADNDEL for his personal. Neil Shulman at All Kinds Weather on Twitter and Instagram. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review if you're listening to this on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Used to be called iTunes. But yeah, got to take a second to shout out our sponsor. We are currently and proudly sponsored by 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants. And they also offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it's savings for your child's college, investment advice, even just your retirement, 401k Generation's team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. 401k Generation, building stronger futures, one generation at a time. For more information, contact them 866-998-5879 or visit their website at 401kgeneration.com. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/CFB4caster, where you can get exclusive access to everything behind the and all kinds of weather forecaster model. We're talking full top 25 power ratings, complete 136 team rankings, and weekly game-by-game projections with model spreads, totals, and win probabilities. Again, that's patreon.com/CFB4caster. Okay, Adrian, spread dropped earlier this week. Ole Miss opened as a 13.5-point favorite. Have not seen Dustin run his model yet, but I'm sure it's going to be somewhere around that neighborhood as well. Vegas is not expecting this to be a close game. I don't think a lot of people are expecting this to be a very close game. But let's start with the quarterback situation at Florida, which drew a lot of raised eyebrows. DJ Lagway is going to get the start again. And we talked about what we saw from him in the last game, and it wasn't pretty. But I don't know. Do you think anything's going to change with him at quarterback, or do you think that he is the main problem of the offense right now?
I missed the Gonzalez presser. Did he say that he was going to start no matter what, or that they were going into the week, as DJ a starter, but that they were going to have equal reps during? Did they say anything about equal reps?
And I think many people interpret it as DJ Lagway will start at Ole Miss.
Really? Okay, so not even equal reps during the week then. Wow.
Was not the vibe I got.
Well, that's unfortunate. I would have hoped that once you made the decision, which was the right decision, obviously the bench Lagway this past week. So you should have opened it up during the week. Open it up. Give equal reps. Give Jones equal reps with the first team during practice week and see what happens, man. And if he beats out Lagway during the week, he beats out Lagway. Are you telling me that this is the Lagway that they see in practice and they're like, let's roll with it, baby. Looks good to me. I mean, come on, man. He can't be looking any better in practice. I don't know. I would have opened it up, give equal reps to Jones, and see what happens, man. Maybe he looks okay with the first team. He looks a little better, and at least you feel a little bit more comfortable maybe bringing him in. And it's not like he did awful. He didn't throw any picks or anything like that. He did kind of give the offense a little bit of a spark. One of the drives got derailed by a penalty and stuff like that, but it's not like he looked awful, He looked better than Lagway, I think. What do you think?
I don't really disagree with that. The offense as a whole is
offense is awful.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to put anyone in there. I don't think Tom Brady in his prime is going to go in there with the right side of the line being what it is. I mean, Caden Jones Bryce Lovett, Damian George, whoever it is playing any position there, just not getting the job done. And I think that's at least a small part of why DJ Lagway is seeing ghosts, like we talked about in the last show. Obviously, the footwork and the mechanics are problematic there, but I mean,
at least Jones gives you more mobility, right? At least he's more mobile.
Yeah.
And it looks like O'Hara likes to run the quarterback.
Which is fine until that quarterback panics or doesn't protect the ball or makes a bad decision because he's on the run and doesn't have time to think it through. With a true freshman quarterback, that's just more likely to happen. Even though Lagway has not been good at all this year, I don't know. I'm not going to say Lagway is going to be smarter with the ball after we saw him throw 3 picks in this game in the first half, but I mean, you're talking about a true freshman on the road, what's going to be another hostile environment for Florida. I don't know that that's going to mean anything. So, obviously, Lagway just has to play better. He just has to, and he has to play a lot better. But, again, from what we saw with that offensive line, with his receiving core now dropping like flies, we saw the news, Trey Wilson going to miss the rest of the season. You're already down Dallas Wilson. You're already down. I mean, not that he was so helpful this year, but you're already down Tank Hawkins too. I mean, it's not exactly an ideal situation. You may not want to ruin the new quarterback, but at this point, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're screwed either way.
I was thinking that as you were talking right now, that a little bit of the cynic in me might also say that the coaches just might have decided, let's just put Lagway out there and lead the lamb to the slaughter, so to speak. That's going to be a hornet's nest there at Ole Miss. That defense is probably going to be geeked up to shut us down. They'll probably have the book on just run zone against Florida, and that's it. Offense can't do nothing against the zone defense. And probably just that's the case. Maybe then just save Trammell for the home crowd that's a little bit friendlier. And instead of ruining them there at Ole Miss, you might as well just let Lagway just, take one for the team, so to speak, man. So, yeah, the cynic in me says, yeah, that's probably the right move there anyways. So, yeah, you're right.
I just want to get the new coach hired, man. That's really I'm just like, it sucks that when you think about that, we had the money in Scott Strickland's hand to fire this guy, Billy Napier, last year and start the healing process last year. I'm not saying Florida would have been a national title contender this year. I'm not even saying Florida would have actually gotten Lane Kiffin or even been good this year, but you could have been 1 year ahead of where we are right now. You just think about the wasted year with the talent that we have. You got to think that with Florida's NIL game even being somewhat competent with a good coach, whoever it is, we could still have gotten a Dallas Wilson or Vernell Brown or both of them in the fold. Could have gotten some portal pieces. Could have still been fine from a roster standpoint. Could have kept guys like Jake Slaughter and Austin Barber. No, Scott Strickland just wasn't feeling it. Starkville Scott to the max, trying to turn Florida into Mississippi State, which I'm finding out today on Twitter is a real hellhole of a place. If you know what I mean, Adrian.
Yeah. You never root against your team, obviously, right? And I'm going to go back when I'm bored one day here, and I'm going to go back and have a look at the LSU and the Ole Miss game from last year, because I've heard quite a few people that I respect their opinion a lot say that those were flukes. Florida won those games. Those were fluke wins, the way Florida won both of those games. And you can't tell me right now that those 2 wins right now set this program back probably a couple years. Because, you lose both of those games, Ole Miss and LSU last year. Lane Kiffin probably has this team ready for the playoffs right now.
No, he doesn't, though, because Scott Strickland had previously told everyone that he was coming back after we lost to Georgia to fall to 4-4. That public statement was that Scott Strickland, of all people who cares so much about his image, is not going to go back on his word like that. I mean, he is kind of a pathological liar. If you read some of his statements and how they've aged, it does paint the picture of a guy who likes to gaslight his fan base. But after Scott Strickland so publicly and vociferously defended his hire with a 4-4 record, he was coming back this year, even if he lost the rest of his games. Even if he lost to that dreadful Florida State team last year, he was coming back because Scott Strickland was not going to make himself look like a complete moron, or at least any more of one than he already did.
I hear you, but it's just one of those things that we'll never know. But I think the pressure would have built up so much. No way, man. I think there would have been what's it called? The donors, the big donor, the big money folks,
the big bucks boosters,
the big bucks boosters that supposedly are the ones making this higher this year. I think they would have just made it insufferable at the end of last year, if he had lost those games. And he didn't have his renewed contract back then, Mr. Strickland, either. So they probably would have threatened him with firing his butt.
Well, now we've got a team that looks a lot like 2020 LSU. Opt-outs, just train wreck of an operation. Yeah. The only difference is we didn't do anything of substance anytime previously the way Ed Orgeron did in his tenure.
And Neil, you bring up the opt-outs and stuff like that. And, and that's just a sign of the times that we're in, unfortunately, that you really have to even think about this. Because 10 years ago, this type of thinking would have never even come into your mind. But you look at our injury list, and it's basically 3-4 times bigger than any other SEC team. So, of course, you start thinking, how many of these guys are just faking it? Just, maybe they got a little here, a little there, something, and just saying, I'm done. Unfortunately, that's a sign of the times that we're in, and it does creep into your mind, and that sucks as a fan that you even have to think about that. But that injury list, man, whoo, it is ridiculous. It's like a 2-pager. It doesn't even fit on what the SEC people put out anymore. It needs a second page.
Like I said, it's basketball season. I'm looking for a new head coach. You do great work with Gator Diamond Pod stuff. Gator baseball should have a decent team again this year. Gator softball is usually fun to watch as well. It's just whatever. Which, again, for our biggest revenue sport, the sport with exponentially the largest stadium / arena / home venue where people pack in and wait the most eagerly for, anticipate with the most hype every single year, plan their weekends around or plan their lives around in the fall. For this sport to be the one that's just completely in the tank is very sad, for lack of a better way to put it. Well, there are better ways to put it, but I think I used them all in the last show after Kentucky. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. It's just embarrassing, humiliating to see Florida be at this place. But I mean, Lane Kiffin is a guy who clearly knows what he's doing at Ole Miss, and you wonder if he would have done anything better this year at Florida in year one. But he's doing what he's doing for Ole Miss now. Got to talk a little bit about them. Adrian, they're in the playoff hunt this year. They were in the playoff hunt last year when they played Florida too, and Florida wrecked those dreams. Now Florida, as we just talked about, is kind of walking wounded, and Ole Miss remembers. Even in this era of paid mercenaries and pay me and I will show you loyalty, and if you don't pay me, I'm not going to show you any loyalty kind of thing. There's no more love for the logo. Even with that, Ole Miss, you can be sure, is not going to forget what happened a year ago. So, I mean, we're going to get to the verdict in a little bit, and we'll pick the score. But this, to me, has the makings of an all-time ugly game in Oxford, Mississippi. So, talk to me a little bit about Ole Miss and what they do well, and what you think we might see in this kind of game.
Well, what impressed me about Ole Miss was the fact that they lost their starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, Austin Simmons. A guy who was a former Gator commit, left-handed guy, really great dual threat quarterback, truly a dual threat quarterback. And they brought in a backup quarterback from a school I've never heard of before, Ferris State. And Lane Kiffin's almost made him into a Heisman Trophy candidate. Hasn't skipped a beat. So that's what's the most impressive thing to me about this team, man, by far. And obviously that goes into what Lane Kiffin does and the type of offense that he runs, how he calls plays, how he coaches up the offense. And, it makes a huge difference, man. So, yeah, man, Trinidad Chambliss, the kid from Ferris State's having a huge year. almost 2,400 yards passing. Look at this, 13 TDs to 2 INTs. We have almost the reverse, right? We got 12 INTs, lead the nation. I think that I read that we lead the nation in INTs. Then they got a running back, Keywan Lacey from Missouri. They got a wide receiver from Oklahoma State, Deshaun Stribling. And they got another wide receiver from Penn State, Harrison Wallace. Lane Kiffin is the portal king. People like to say that he's never been able to recruit great. Well, to recruit at Ole Miss is kind of tough, recruit from the high school. But he seems to have figured out the portal pretty good, man. He seems to replenish the cupboard with portal players, especially at the skill position, like nothing. He lost all his receivers from last year, replenished them all in the portal, haven't skipped a beat, man. On defense, they put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They're in the top 50 in sacks. TJ Daughtry, one of their stud linebackers. And one guy that I love is their buck. I love his name too, Suntarian Perkins. He's going to be a handful, number 4. So, yeah, they're going to bring it. You think Lane is going to lay it on us, man? Or do you think he's going to take it easy on his future team?
No, he's going to embarrass us.
You think so?
And if he doesn't have the drive and the motivation to lay it on Florida, his assistants and his players will.
He might just give it to the fans too. Might just throw him the bone, put 50 on us, and then at least in a few weeks when he announces he's going to Florida, at least he could
really
say, hey,
rip the heart out.
I dropped 100 on him for you guys, though.
Oh well, I was thinking more along the lines of this is another comment like the Velvet Ditch comment, which is apparently a nickname for the town of Oxford, Mississippi, and it's apparently. Or it was very esoteric until he came out and said it and now drove more awareness to the term. And then, of course, when he did that, you had all the big national media personalities saying stuff like, oh, now he's definitely staying. You can't say this. You can't call it the Velvet Ditch and then leave. It would be an ultimate middle finger if you do this post, I think, with his daughter and her not her boyfriend, but because he plays for LSU, but something about his family being there and calling it the Velvet Ditch. And then you post that to leave. And then someone, I think it was, I want to say Adam Amin or some like not college football centric, but big name person quote tweeted that with like, yeah, what an ultimate heart rip out it would be if you say something like this and then you leave. So I see him dropping a big number on Florida. And then people having that same reaction, like, oh, wow, and he's definitely staying in Ole Miss now. You can't do that to Florida and then take their job. Yeah, you can. And I think he will. And I think in part, he'll do it exactly for that reason, because people say he can. That's why I'm such a big fan of Lane Kiffin's and want him at Florida. He does not give any F's what people think. He likes to prove people wrong, and he likes to win games with big margins. So I think what the score can be in this game, it will be.
Do you think right now, Monday, November 10th, he knows exactly what he's going to do right now?
No, I don't. I think he's leaning a certain way. I think he is more likely than not. I don't think it's 50-50. I think he is more likely than not going to make the move, but that is by no means a guarantee of anything. I want to make that very clear. That there is no promise, there is no verbal agreement, there is no decision made. It is not close to being made, more like probably a 55-45 proposition. But I do think, and I am hearing that he is slightly leaning towards coming to Florida. But again, not even close to being a done deal. So do not celebrate.
Question. Scenarios here. They're already clinched for the playoffs. So whether or not they make the playoffs or not, I think it's unconsequential. I think they're already a clinch. With that being said, making a run in the playoffs, all the way maybe up to and including the championship game and losing, greater chance of him staying at Ole Miss or leaving? now making a run through the playoffs and winning a national championship. They could win a national championship. I think it's Ohio State's to lose. I mean, their team is so much more talented, and Patricia has that defense at a different level right now. But let's say they win the national championship. Any of those scenarios make it more likely for him to stay at Ole Miss.
Say that again?
Getting to a national championship game and losing, or getting to a national championship game and winning. So coming back to repeat at Ole Miss, or coming back for unfinished business.
Yeah, unfinished business is the phrase that I made you repeat. He finished his business, so to speak, this year, or we could say he will finish his business this year. If Ole Miss goes to the playoff and gets to the national championship, that's as far as they've ever gotten before, ever. The ceiling for them is not the ceiling that Florida, LSU, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Michigan, etc. have. Ole Miss is not that caliber of program. If you go to the championship game and you lose, then you've already well exceeded your ceiling at Ole Miss. And it's just a bonus. You're playing with house money to even make the playoff at Ole Miss. You conjure up images of Billy Cannon on Halloween in 1959 against LSU. Since then, they've done nothing. For them to even be in this position is them hitting their ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, when Florida ruined their championship dreams, that was their ceiling. They were never supposed to even get that close. Now, they're not utter poverty like, Rutgers, but they're a program that doesn't have any realistic, shall we say, championship expectations every year. They have hopes and goals and aspirations, but they don't have those real expectations to get to the CFP or get to the final rounds. Lane Kiffin changed their program to now get them to hope and believe, or to now get them to expect it, because they were close last year, but that's just not what they are as a program.
So as a Gator fan, what's the ideal scenario moving forward for Ole Miss? What am I rooting for?
In this game?
No, moving forward for Ole Miss in the season. Am I rooting for a first-round exit? Is that the most?
No, you're rooting for a natty because Lane Kiffin got you farther. He's already shattered expectations. Why stop now?
No, but if they go all the way to a natty, then that means Lane ain't coming into town until mid-January to late January. First-round exit, hey, he gets them to the playoffs. Hey, I got you guys. It kind of falls into what you're saying, right? I got you guys further than a program like this has ever been before. So I accomplished my mission there. I'm leaving, and I still get to Gainesville in time to do the whole portal thing and all that good stuff. So I think a first-round exit, I think, is the most ideal. Don't you think? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, for Florida it is, but you asked for Ole Miss.
For Florida.
Yeah.
What are we rooting for? We're rooting for.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely ideal if he loses in the first round.
Okay.
But I thought you said for Ole Miss.
No, I got you.
But
okay.
No, yeah, lose in the first round or just not make the CFP. He's already proven his point. We get it. He's really, really, really smart as an offensive mind. He knows how to put together a roster. He knows how to assemble a staff, and he's just fun, period. He's very, very he's not – I don't want to say he's that similar to Spurrier or to Urban, because those are like lazy kind of cop-out takes. But there are some similarities. There are some parallels there. He loves offense. He loves to win, and he loves to have fun. He's got that killer instinct. And he just, the Southern gentleman thing that Billy Napier had just doesn't work in college football. Nick Saban was a killer. Kirby Smart is a killer. They know how to be respectful at times, but they have that killer mindset. They have that killer instinct in them. Lane Kiffin was on Saban's staff for years. He's got a national championship ring. I mean, some of the other failed Saban assistants do too, but they also did not go on to then take a low-level SEC program to unprecedented levels of success. So, you know what? Lane Kiffin is the guy that is best suited to take the Florida job right now. And I think – go ahead.
So with that being said, we still have probably a few more weeks of this. So let's track it and see where we are right now and then where we are next week and the following week. I think it's between Ole Miss and Florida. I don't think he considers any other game.
I don't think he's going to LSU either.
At all.
LSU, if for no other reason than LSU is already stuck now paying an enormous buyout to Brian Kelly.
And that whole fiasco with the governor and all that stuff. I mean, who wants to walk into that?
I agree.
So, Ole Miss, Florida, what's your percentage Monday, November 10th between Ole Miss and Florida? Give our percentages that he goes to Ole Miss, stays at Ole Miss, and the percentage he comes to Florida. And then I'll give mine, and we'll track it, and we'll see how it goes.
I said 55-45 he comes to Florida. It's.
So you say 55-45. Wow.
Well, because we don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out.
I got you. That's why this is today.
I do think if Ole Miss makes it to the national championship game, that decreases. If he doesn't, if he gets bounced in the first round, then it goes up a bit. But again, I don't think he's made his mind up. I legitimately don't believe he knows what he's going to do yet.
Okay, I got it at 70% he stays at Ole Miss, 30% he comes to Florida. I have it at 70-30 right now. Maybe that could change with stuff going on in the playoffs, but that's where I'm at 70-30. We've talked about it a little bit here, why I feel that way. I think money has nothing to do with this whatsoever. Ironically, I think the reasons why in the past he wasn't a viable option for Florida is going to be the reason why now he stays at Ole Miss. And it's because he's matured, right? And he's over 50 years old. You start looking at life a little differently. And he likes to troll. Yeah, we know that. He likes to post pictures on social media with the yoga girls, right? And he's showing off his six-pack. Listen, if I'm 51 and I have a six-pack, I'm showing it off too, bro. All right, with my yoga instructors. Okay?
Aren't you?
Oh, for sure. So there ain't nothing wrong with that. But I got it at 70-30, man. You're going to have to play to his nostalgic side, right? You really have to lean on all the reports that he was a huge Spurrier fan back in the day. That's why he wears why he wears the visor. You got to play on all that because it's not going to be money. All right, he could care less. He has plenty of money right now. He'll get plenty of money from Ole Miss. It's got to be. You have to entertain. You got to spark those butterflies in him. Have to get stirred up about coaching Florida and coming out of the same tunnel wearing the same visor that Steve Spurrier wore. You know, supposedly he idolized him back in the day. That's what you got to get going.
And I think Florida will, and I think that the big money boosters will do that. I don't think he knows what he wants to do one way or another. And I'll say one thing now very quickly. This is the Florida Ole Miss game. Obviously, Lane Kiffin's the target. Everyone knows that. Ole Miss fans aren't acting the way they are if they don't believe there's a chance he comes to Florida. If the rumors were out there, but it was pretty clear that there was nothing to be gained. Like, let's say the rumors were about him leaving Ole Miss for Coastal Carolina. Let's just say that was the smoke. Ole Miss fans would be laughing. They would not take it seriously. They would not be spending as much time on the whole thing as they're spending now. Even if it was for like a Texas Tech. Coastal Carolina is a little low. Let's say it's Texas Tech because, you know, they got oil money, right? But that's laughable. He would not make that move. There's nothing there for him. They're in the Big 12, not even in the SEC. There's not the state of Florida connection, right? The way that he has and loves the beaches of Florida. Like, nothing about that would make any sense. So if that was the smoke and then it was quickly debunked, they would just be laughing. That's not the case here. They're scared. that he's going to come to Florida. He might not come to Florida. Be very, very clear. It could work out that he stays at Ole Miss. Could very well happen that way. But Ole Miss fans know that there's a real chance he's coming to Florida, and that's why they're acting the way they're acting. Because Florida's program is just above theirs. They know it. Even if he stays at Ole Miss, the very fact that this smoke is happening is exactly why Florida's program is superior to Ole Miss's. Count the natties. You got 3 natties in the last 30 years. Ole Miss doesn't have squat. There's a reason why this is happening. So, with that said, Adrian, let's talk about this Ole Miss game. Like I said, I think it's going to be an all-time ugly showing. I do kind of wonder if the Kentucky game was a fluke in that it was a just complete and utter beatdown. I talked about 2020 LSU being a sort of comparison. We did see that LSU team come into the swamp and ruin Florida's championship dreams. As we know, we covered this extensively back in 2020. Florida had other stuff going on there, but man, that was unexpected. 24.5-point favorites Florida was in that game, and LSU just ruined it all, shouted it all in one foggy night featuring Marco Wilson committing one of the stupidest penalties I've ever seen in my life. So was the Kentucky game a fluke in terms of just how bad and checked out and lack of giving a shit Florida is?
I hate to say it, but I don't think it is. I think it was a performance that was destined to happen once you really analyzed where the team was after the coaching change, coming off of the Georgia game, like we talked about. And I think the injuries are just starting to pile up. The injuries, quote unquote, opt-outs are just starting to add up. And, that has to be a little demoralizing on the rest of the locker room, Neil, don't you think? I mean, think about it. I read today that Tank Hawkins is still practicing with the team. He's doing all team activities. He's participating. He's in practice. I imagine he's running routes, taking his reps. I mean, I don't know, man. I think if you opt out like that, you opt out. You're off the team. That's it. Stay in school, stay enrolled, go eat Chipotle on your own. You're on your own. You're out. You asked to leave the team. So I don't get that. I'm sure some guys on that team are fine with it, but I'm sure there's some that aren't. I'm sure there's probably quite a few that aren't. So that takes its toll on the whole locker room, I think. And that performance from Saturday definitely makes you wonder where that locker room's head is at right now, dude. So, unfortunately, I don't think it was a fluke, man. I think it's inevitability.
I think some of the things we saw can be considered flukes. Like, I don't know that DJ Lagway throwing 3 picks and a half is something that could be replicated. And maybe it is. I mean, we saw him do that against LSU too. But yeah, I don't know that the team will be quite as checked out. I think that there will be some semblance of pride, but I also think Ole Miss is just so much better than Kentucky. Even though those teams did play, Kentucky and Ole Miss did play, Ole Miss barely survived it, but that was also 2 whole months ago. And now they're nearing the finish line, kind of smelling blood for the CFP. So I don't think it's a fluke. I think there may be some individual players who were embarrassed by what they did last week. I think there's going to be a lot more players who also still don't care. So I don't know. I would love to be wrong. I've told people, I'm going to this game. It's something I'm kind of regretting right now, but we'll see. You know what's really pissing me off right now? Because of the government shutdown, my flights are getting messed with, and now my flight back is now going to be taking place during the Florida-Miami Hurricane basketball game. So it's going to be hard for me to watch that unless I pay for the internet on the flight. Like that's the biggest source of concern for me right now. Like the football game is what it is. I've got my weekend plan. I'm going to explore Memphis. I'm gonna have fun in Ole Miss and just see the campus and just enjoy the camaraderie, the Grove football game. Football game I know is going to be an embarrassment. I'm worried about if I'm going to watch the Florida Miami basketball game Sunday night. That's it. That's where we are as a program right now, because the game, what's going to happen in it is as much a foregone conclusion for me as the fact that I'm going to go hang out on Beale Street and see downtown Memphis and visit the place where MLK got shot and all that stuff. Like it's a known fact what's going to happen in this game. So if you want to say Florida's checked out, if you want to say it's going to be as ugly or if that was a fluke, it's canon already. This team has shown us what it is. This team has shown us who they are in a lot of cases, and its ending is pretty clearly written here.
How close is Oxford to Memphis? Are they close? It's close?
About an hour 15.
Okay.
An hour 20.
So you're flying into Memphis?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Nice, cool, yeah.
Yep. Getting there Thursday. And
I hear that Oxford's a cool little town also, so you should enjoy the trip. I'll be very curious to see what Ole Miss's reaction is going to be to you. Ole Miss fans' reaction to a Gator fan.
I mean,
that should be fun.
I mean, I said what I said about them. I don't take anything back that I said about their program. I still think that there is
not
a lot
just you, Gator fan,
Yeah. Apparently there are going to be a lot of us there because this was the game that we all planned to go to when the schedule was announced. Because most people do one big road trip a year. This was the game. It wasn't Texas A&M. Miami, everyone already lives there, and it wasn't Kentucky. So this was the trip everyone planned to take. And a lot of people were just kind of stuck and just doing it. So I said what I said about Ole Miss. I'm sure they're going to come into the mentions here and just troll the hell out of me. If they're anything like Mississippi State fans. Like I said, Ole Miss is just not a top-tier SEC program. Lane Kiffin cannot change that in 2 or 3 years. But I will say Ole Miss does still have a lot naturally to be liked about it. Like the Grove is something that I've wanted to go experience for a long time. I had my trip planned out in 2020, and then the pandemic happened, so I didn't do that. But it's world famous for a reason. The atmosphere there, while not nearly as rowdy as the Swamp, is still something that I want to experience. I want to compare the Swamp's rowdiness to the Ole Miss rowdiness when Ole Miss is in the playoff hunt and they want blood the way they do from Gator fans right now. So, and also worth pointing out, I have been friends with Shea Hodge for a long time now. Ole Miss's king of receiving yards. So because of him, I've had a respect for Ole Miss, and I've wanted to beat them, and I very much enjoyed that night in 2015 when Will Grier went Keanu on them. 2020, Lane Kiffin's introduction to the Oxford, Mississippi Velvet Ditch when Florida beat them with Matt Corral there. I enjoy those wins. I see them as another SEC opponent, kind of like a Missouri or a Texas. Well, Texas is a bigger brand, but like a Missouri or a Vanderbilt now, or a Kentucky before they just started wailing on us the last 5 years that I've liked watching and generally rooted for within the SEC. But you know what, guys? Sorry, we didn't want it to come to this. We wanted Napier to work out at Florida, but we got to do what we got to do is right for us. And if that means taking your coach, I'm not going to hold your burner bots and trolls on Twitter against the whole fan base. I'll generally root for y'all. Like, for example, you guys do a better job beating our rivals than we do these days. So I'll continue to root for y'all within the SEC, like LSU and Georgia and Tennessee. But, every man for himself. There's no such thing as pan-SECism. I don't do the SEC thing and root for Georgia or Tennessee when they get to the playoff. So this is just what happens. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Adrian, let's predict the game. How ugly is it going to be? We could just sim to that, or we could give quick keys before we get to that. So what have you got for keys?
Quick keys, man. Just handle the tempo. We've done a really poor job of handling the tempo, and that's not a good sign when you have Ole Miss and Tennessee on back-to-back weekends, because both of them are one of the fastest running tempo teams in America. So our defense has to start handling tempo a lot better than they've been doing it. Number 2, play both quarterbacks. I hate to keep beating a dead horse, man, but play both QBs. I will go Spurrier school here, man. I'll go alternating plays. I'll just do something crazy like that. It ain't working the way you're doing it. So you might as well just go crazy, man. See what happens. Maybe you could explain stuff. That's what Spurrier said, right? He did that with Noah Brindise and who did he do it with Noah and who
Doug
was
Johnson. Doug Johnson.
and Dougie Johnson, because he was able to coach them up, tell them what they're not seeing, and then so go in there and do that. Well, maybe you could do that with Lagway. Say, hey, look, right there, they had the zone. This guy was open. Go in there, find him. Go now. So I don't know. I would go Spurrier on him. Alternating quarterback plays. And then lastly, who wants to play? Who wants to play? Again, beating a dead horse here. But after last week's performance, who wants to show up and play some football, man? I think that's a huge key to this game, too. So that's my 3 quick keys, man.
Yeah, I'll just give one. Care. Try.
There you go.
It really is that simple. That goes for the entire offensive line. The right side was just abominable against Kentucky. It goes for the receivers who do play, run the right routes. It goes for the defense. Don't just give up and quit the way you did against Kentucky. Do that, and your talent is going to keep you in this ballgame. I'm not saying Florida's going to win. Lane Kiffin is still a very good X's and O's coach, which is part of why Florida wants him so much. But the talent advantage that Florida I shouldn't say an advantage, but the talent that Florida has amassed on this roster should be enough to keep them in the game if they're invested in the game. If they're not, then it's going to be way, way worse than we saw against Kentucky. Like you think 38-7 is bad? This could be, if Ole Miss wants it to be, this could be 70-0. If Florida checks out and does not care. So, all right, Adrian, let's write our scores down and let's make some predictions here. God, I feel silly even doing what I'm about to do, but yeah, like there's such
an upset. You're calling it an upset, baby.
Yeah, I'm calling an upset. Well, I am calling an upset in that there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be upset, but here we go. Ready?
Go ahead.
Oh, we have the same score for Florida.
13 points. Lucky number 13. You got double nickel being dropped on us, huh?
Damn. Double nickels.
And a 1% chance at winning?
1% chance.
What happened to that positive guy last week that had Gators scoring 30-something points, man?
What happened to him? He watched the Kentucky game.
I have 38-13, and you have 55-13.
Yep.
We both have 13. Dustin just posted that the model says 33-21.
Wow.
And Florida has a 27.4% chance to win.
I will say the one and only thing I will say about this is that college football can be a very, very week-to-week kind of thing. Obviously, we saw Florida almost beat Georgia before what happened against Kentucky. I mean, remember, like, FSU in 2021, they take Notre Dame to the wire, almost beat them, and then they lose to Jacksonville State. Like, the week-to-week fluctuations of nearly pulling off an enormous upset and then embarrassing yourselves does happen with the same team. But I just think once you check out, it's hard to get it back. It's hard to get the care back. And maybe the guys will execute better than they did against Kentucky. But again, you're facing a better opponent that's going to want blood. So
I love that comment, by the way. I love that comment. It's hard to get the care back. I love that quote. And that is so true, man. It's hard to get. And Neil, this ain't like, baseball. With all due respect to my baseball comrades here, football is a tough sport to play, man. You've got to really want to get out there and bust helmets with somebody. And if you've lost that care about doing it, man, I like that. It's tough to get that care back. It's tough.
Yeah. Use it. It's yours. Heard it here first, and then all kinds of other forecasts. No, but I mean, baseball is different type of tough because you can be in a 1 for 25 slump and still be expected to go out there and get the big hit. It's a mental thing with you, like the physical, or should I say the care physically to go out and perform is probably different than it is in football, obviously, because the physicality involved, but you still have to be able to channel it in specific moments, like, I don't know, sliding into home, trying to do like that hook slide where you go around the catcher, but then touch the plate with your finger, or the catcher, you got to be ready to truck someone in a moment's notice. You have to be ready to flip that on and off in the snap of a finger. So it's very, very different in football, obviously, because you got to be ready for war on any specific play and every specific play, as opposed to any specific play, I should say.
It's a gladiator sport. And, a lot of times people sometimes, and I understand, they don't like the references to war and stuff like that, but it is a war out there. It really is. It's a gladiator sport. And, man, if you lost that care, like you said, it's tough to get that back. That's when you get runned over, man. So we'll see what happens, Neil. We'll see what happens, man.
Yep. I said 55-13. I think that spread is very low. Maybe I am overreacting to 1 week, but like I said, like Adrian just said, he wants to use that quote. It's hard to get the care back. I think that once you've quit, then again, we did kind of say that last year. The difference is Miami and Texas A&M were good, and Kentucky is not. They're still probably going to fire Mark Stoops after the season. Like, he's still very much on the hot seat, even with that historic 38-7 win over Florida.
I think he saved his job. I think
for now.
Back-to-back with the Auburn.
For now, he did. Yeah. If they lose to Louisville by 30 points, he's gone.
Yeah, if that happens, probably.
Or if they even lose like 21-7, he's gone. So I don't know. I don't feel very good about this. Like I said, I'm going for vibes, going to enjoy the atmosphere. I'm seeing family in Memphis. That's always fun. I like to schedule some family trips around my football. But yeah, this game is going to be an absolute destruction of an already destroyed Florida team. But Ole Miss is going to basically just they're going to watch the first few plays unfold. They're going to play the first few plays. They're going to realize, oh, this is a broken team. Let's break them more. They're going to take the shattered remnants of the shell of the Florida team that currently is, and they're going to further reduce it to dust. That's what's going to happen this weekend. Hopefully I'm wrong, but
hopefully we get surprised.
Kentucky.
Hopefully we get pleasantly surprised. We'll see.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hopefully $5 million just gets deposited into my bank account overnight for no rhyme or reason. Two things have about as much chance as happening as possible. I probably have a better chance of being elected governor of Florida than Florida does of winning this game. And honestly, you know what? If I do run for governor, my platform is going to be my first day in office. I'm going to remove Scott Strickland from the state of Florida. I will deport him, and then I will resign and hand the job back over to Ron DeSantis. Or literally just, hand it over to anyone else. I'm out. I'm going into office day one, removing Scott Strickland, and then just piecing out. That's the platform I'm running.
Louisiana governor style, baby.
Yeah, I guess. Well, look, it sucks that we're here. Like I said, we will start talking basketball more once we get more basketball games to talk about. FSU game should be fun. That's going to be tonight or when this drops. Miami should be a good test too. Neither of those teams are fantastic, but they are ACC teams at least. So better than North Florida. Not really what Arizona is either. So should be those kind of middle of the road tests and good opportunities for Florida to showcase exactly who they are and how they've learned from Arizona. So obviously it's always fun to see rivalry games too. So let's see the Gators go out and win those and just start taking care of business and give us more. Well, we got basketball to talk about. this year as opposed to just continuing to ride the coattails of last year's Natty. Want to see Boogie Flan step up and do some things on offense. Want to see Urban Klobjar step up and do some things on defense. That was the reason he wasn't playing last year. Looking forward to talking about all of that as the season rolls on. We do have 3 more football games, unfortunately, that we have to talk about between now and then, though. So, like, comment, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating and a nice review. All that stuff helps us bring you guys more great content. And I do promise the content will be a lot more fun as things become a lot more fun on the field and or court. So until next time, y'all, Neil Shulman, Adrian Perez, go Gators. Let's do what none of us think is actually going to happen and beat the Rebels.
Shock the world.
Somehow.